Pennsylvania retreat.
So does Mr. Gulen live in this building?
Yes, this building.
To our surprise, Bekir Aksoy, who heads the retreat, invited us in, even though Gulen had turned us down for an interview.
So this is the prayer room. Oh, is that Mr. Gulen's seat, his chair?
Like whenever he comes out of his room, he sits there and he speaks from there.
And that's where he lives, behind that door?
Yeah, there's the door behind which Mr. Gulen lives. And this is private room.
Gulen lives there alone. He's never married. The pile of medicine bottles are a reminder that at 70 plus, he's diabetic with heart and kidney problems.
Will he come out? Will we get to see him?
For the last 5-6 months, he is very, very ill. When he is ill, he does not accept visitors.
When Gulen came to the U.S. in 1999, it was for medical treatment. But then this video surfaced, in which he seemed to order his flock to surreptitiously take over key government positions in Turkey in a stealth Islamic coup. Accused of treason by the government at the time, Gulen decided to stay in the Poconos, even after he was cleared in 2008 in absentia.
Why is he still in America?
Well, I think if he would have come back, then there would be such a brouhaha, and I think he would be afraid of being seen as being too powerful.
Too powerful because it seems that his followers have taken over key positions in the Turkish government and the police.
If he says jump, people jump. There's no doubt about that.
You know, we have confronted real fear about this movement, particularly when we try to get critics to give us an interview. What are they afraid of?
There's a fear of reprisal. I mean, it is the case that 2 or 3 people who've written both sides critical of the movement are not in jail.
Seeming to have such power, this Wizard of Oz recluse invites conspiracy theories that he's running Turkey from the Poconos and is bent on global Muslim domination. His movement does lack transparency. Its funding, hierarchy, and ambitions remain hidden, leading our State Department to wonder, in cables between Ankara and Washington, if Gulen has an insidious political agenda. And now some of the suspicion revolves around the U.S. schools. Do they serve a function other than educating our kids? One accusation involves immigration fraud, that the schools are providing work visas for hundreds of Gulen followers from Turkey.
And the whole idea is just to get Turks to come into the United States, and this is an easy avenue for them.
Which is categorically not true.
David Dunn of the Texas Charter Schools Association says that because of a deficit of qualified Americans, the schools bring in math and science teachers from Turkey, as this list of visa applications indicates. Problem is,
we've seen that some of these visas for Turkish teachers to come here are for them to teach English. How does that make any sense?
I'm not aware of that. I can't comment on that. I don't know. I've not looked intimately at the visas that they bring in.
We have English teachers in this country.
English teachers are typically not part of the critical or the deficit.
Our tax dollars are paying for them to come over here and take our jobs.
Mary Addy was fired as a teacher from a school in Cleveland, Ohio, part of a Gulen-inspired chain of 27 charter schools in the Midwest.
They want to give you the impression that they're just hard-working guys over here to try to educate our kids because American teachers are just too stupid.
As far as you know, why is an Islamic imam, which Gulen is, interested in setting up schools in the United States?
Because it's a great money-making operation.
Gulen's followers can make money through contracts to build and maintain the schools. But Addy has gone to law enforcement with charges that the schools also make money by bringing in foreign teachers in order to take a cut of their salaries. She says she learned this after marrying a Turkish teacher.
And that's when he told me that every pay period he would have to cash his check and he had to give 40% of his check back because
40% of his
cash.
salary?
Yes.
And you've turned documents over to various federal agencies that you say proves this on paper.
Yes.
The schools dismiss Addy's claims, calling her a disgruntled employee. But federal authorities told us they take her seriously and are looking into allegations of immigration fraud and misuse of taxpayer money in various states, and whether it's somehow being funneled to the Gulen movement. Then there's the internet, where there are incendiary blogs accusing the schools of secretly promoting an Islamic agenda.
You know, there are various blogs that have accused these schools of being backdoor madrasas.
Yeah.
So do you think there's a little bit of Islamophobia involved?
I think there's clearly some anti-Islam bias involved in these blogs.
Actually, we looked into this, and Islam is not taught at all. That would be illegal, since these are public schools that go out of their way to distance themselves from any religious affiliation, even denying a connection to the Gulen movement.
I think what matters is the results in the classrooms. Are kids learning math, science, reading, writing at a superior level? And clearly in these schools that's happening.
It is happening. Newsweek voted 2 Harmony schools among America's top 10. More of these schools open every year across the country, and waiting lists just keep getting longer. Gulenists tell us the schools are about reading, writing, and arithmetic, not religion. And Fakir Aksoy in the Poconos says the man behind the door has no hidden agenda. Fethullah Gulen hasn't even visited any of the schools.
He does not want to see the fruits of his work. He just speaks and encourages the people to be good human beings.
That's interesting, because there are schools in Pennsylvania. We're not that far.
He has not seen any of them, believe me. He does not leave that room.
Okay, so what's the deal with this guy? He has these schools, in the United States, we are very unique because we are the only country in the world that has these charter schools, right? Where you can have public taxpayer dollars being run privately, right? In other parts of the world, these Gulen schools are all private. So how did they start? Well, they started, for those of you that are from Asia Minor, you know that we were there before they were, right? The Turks all came from Central Asia. And there's a difference between being Turkic and being Turkish. Turkic covers a number of countries in Central Asia, like Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, lots and lots of the former Soviet Union. So when the Soviet Union collapsed, this Gulen guy, who became an imam when he was 14 years old, right? And his father was an imam, and he's from the eastern part of Turkey where all the fundamentalists are. He decides that when the Soviet Union fell, which was an atheist, there was no official religion, there was a ripe opportunity. And so the Gulen schools in all of Central Asia were Muslim schools. I mean, they advanced a Muslim agenda, not quietly, not indirectly, but directly. And they were there to train young men, and this stuff about that boys and girls are equal is utter nonsense. I'll get to that in a second. But they were there to train young men to become imams and to spread Islam in Central Asia, right? And what happened? As these countries, which initially had no money and no governance or whatever, as they started figuring this out, they started closing these Gulen schools. And so some of the countries in Central Asia have abolished them, including Russia, among others. And in 1999, when he allegedly came here because of medical reasons, and his medical reasons were that he had diabetes. I mean, come on. I mean, how many people in this room have diabetes? Right? That he came over here because he had diabetes, and he came here for medical treatment. The reality was This is before Erdogan's government. Erdogan is the current prime minister. And as we know, Turkey draws a sharp distinction between being nationalist and being Islamic. Those are after Ataturk, those are different. Okay, you have people that are Islamic in Turkey and you have people that are nationalists. When the nationalists were in power, they indicted him for trying to create an Islamic state in Turkey. Now this is before Erdogan. Now he's the one who propped up Erdogan, and sure enough, they have a trial in absentia 8 years later, and he's cleared of all charges because Erdogan happens to have an Islamic agenda. Okay? Now he's at war with Erdogan, and I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. So he moves to the United States, and he's in a compound, and it is a compound because there are 100 Turkish soldiers that guard the compound with rifles at all times. Okay? Now, this is a man of peace, right? And there are 100 guys out there with machine guns that guard this compound at all times, and he does not give interviews. And what he did was, in fact, I got the Turkish word. They used to have a policy of. They used to have a policy of. Let me get the correct word here in just a second. It literally translates into proselytizing. And this was the agenda that they had in Central Asia. And he decided after he came here to the United States, after he figured out this charter school movement, that he could basically get local school boards to basically fund his agenda, and you cannot teach Islam in these schools, we're going to do things secretly. And the reason he was indicted in Turkey is for making this comment, okay? And this is, you can actually find this on the internet. And he claims it's taken out of context, but this is literally what he said. He says, one second. The existing system is still in power. Our friends who have positions in legislative bodies should learn its details and be vigilant all the time, so that they can transform it and be more fruitful on behalf of Islam in order to carry out our restoration. They should wait and have patience until conditions become more favorable. That was a secretly recorded speech that he gave to his followers that appeared on Turkish television. You must move in the arteries of the system without anyone noticing your existence until you reach the power centers. You must wait for the time when you are complete and conditions are right, until we can shoulder the entire world and carry it. Right? And it was those comments that got him in trouble with the nationalists years ago. So what did he do?
Those comments are in Turkey, not here.
Those comments were in Turkey. Yes, and those are, it is unassailable that he made those comments. What he says is they were taken out of context. Now, what do we think when we hear someone say I was taken out of context? Right? It means you caught me. Right? And when he came here for medical reasons, he applied for a green card. And the State Department turned him down. And the reason they turned him down is because they had questions regarding his agenda. Right? And so what does he do? He starts building, slowly, a power base of the most powerful people in the United States. He starts putting them, they start working for him. And so in 2007, he gets a green card. Now along the way, in 2000, he opens up the very first charter school in Texas. And this was a school that operated out of the basement of a church. Okay? Now remember, a charter school is funded by the state agency. It's funded by the state, by taxpayer dollars. And the reason that school boards like charter schools is because a charter school can operate at a lower cost than a public school. So I think, for example, in Houston Independent School District, we spend on average, I think it's like $11,500 per child a year. That's what it costs to operate the school system, if you divide the number of kids by the budget. A charter school can do it for $8,500. So we're talking about pretty significant cost savings. In addition to that, the people who start the charter school actually get the state agency, or the school board, to pay for the construction of the charter school. Right? And so what happens? These are no bid contracts, which means it's not competitive bidding. It means you can, if you are approved, they give you the money. As long as you don't go over budget, you're okay. Well, all of these contracts, and I mean almost all of them, go to Turkish companies. Gulen followers. Okay? And what happens is they end up building school at a cost of tens of millions of dollars sometimes, and they end up giving part of it back to the Gulen network. Now, if you add up, I mean, it's staggering how much we are spending on these schools. And there's now, so when this report was done, I think she said there were 135 or 136. We now have over 150. You have 10 of these in Florida. Okay? So what's the problem, right? I mean, they can't teach